How do you create the psychological safety that people need in order to feel comfortable making a leap?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing that creates safety is when a leader actually creates that environment where things are being done with the staff rather than to the staff. And so a lot of the work that we will do around culture and climate, for example, is figuring out, what is working, what is not working, what are some things, what direction do we want to go, and then layering and building your professional learning and coaching around it. So then the example I gave about changing the climate and culture, we started in Shreveport, for example, by creating this space for all teachers and principals to participate in, almost like a teacher boot camp, where they actually learned and got to create their own systems. What are our common expectations? What are 10 common expectations? Things like we greet people by name. We talk in complete sentences and agree and disagree respectfully. We say thank you within 3 seconds of receiving something, or the item will be taken back. Kind of based on the work of Ron Clark, really, on the Essential 55. But talking about those things we wanted to see, and then asking teachers questions like, what would we have to do to see all these things on campus? And guiding them through that process. What would we have to do to teach these things? What would we have to do to model these things? What would we have to do? What does practice and role play of these things look like? And then how do we tie these things into our PBIS and token economies to get them to create the whole process themselves? You don't just give people a scripted curriculum for the first 2 weeks of school. You don't just tell them what's going to happen. You build it with them. So I think when you build things with them, that creates safety. Another thing that really helps is twisting how we coach and observe people to being more about coaching and feedback than evaluation. So if I say that my first 2 weeks of school is going to look like this, then we're going to be walking heavily those first 2 weeks of school to collect data and provide coaching. None of it's going to go on an evaluation. None of it's going to go on a document. It's going to go, on a coaching script so that we can have conversations about what it actually looks like. Then when we move into instruction, they're ready for it because they've already had a good first two to 3 weeks of school. They've created the system. They've received feedback. And so then keeping that coaching happening during looking for instruction, looking at intervention practices, it creates that psychological safety. My wife's a good example. She hates to get an email form with check boxes for an evaluation or a walkthrough. She likes being coached face to face. And so a lot of times I will talk to principals about move away from 10 walks a week on a form that is just a checkbox and move into face-to-face coaching, even if you're scared of it, because the relationship and the trust develops from face-to-face conversation, not by an email.